week 3 of the fantasy football season. And here's a few running backs I have as sleeper options this week. The first guy, Keandre Miller of the New Orleans Saints. So right now, Jamal Williams, he's going to be out a few weeks. Alvin Kamara is still suspended here for this New Orleans Saints team. And right now, Miller's still available in 78% of fantasy leagues. And he's the favorite, I think, this week to get majority of the touches in the backfield, even though we saw Tony Jones have a good game in relief here for this New Orleans Saints team on Monday Night Football versus the Panthers. So Keandre Miller, obviously a rookie, a guy that they drafted this season here. He's going to get opportunity. I think he's going to be in there over Tony Jones in this ball game. So right now, we're starting running back with a decent matchup with the Green Bay Packers that so far in the early goings giving up the 4th most fantasy points to running backs. And we've seen it, obviously. Bijan Robinson having a monster game in week 2. And then week 1, in that one, we saw Roschon Johnson have a good game in the backfield and Herbert a decent one. So right now, with Miller available in a bunch of leagues and tons of injuries at the running back position this week here and so far this season, I think Miller could be a sleeper option to put in your lineup. The next guy is Craig Reynolds of the Detroit Lions. So right now, Craig Reynolds out there in 98% of fantasy leagues, and David Montgomery hasn't practiced first 2 days here of the week. So right now, it looks like Reynolds is going to have a role in this offense. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's not all of a sudden going to get 25, 30 carries, even though I could only imagine the type of numbers he could put up if he had that workload as Jahmyr Gibbs. But anyway, Craig Reynolds, we saw him come in relief for Montgomery in week 2 after he went down with injury in that ball game where he had 3 carries, 7 yards. So this week here with a pretty good matchup and a potential shootout with the Atlanta Falcons, I think Reynolds could be a decent option as a flex guy or deeper flex formats. And right now, like I said, he's going to have a role in this offense. Montgomery said it's going to take him a couple weeks to heal with the hip injury. And right now, we're not practicing the first couple days of the week here. I got Reynolds as a sleeper this week, in the third and final back I have as a sleeper option. Devon Achane of the Miami Dolphins. So right now, Salvon Ahmed, I know, is the backup running back over there in Miami, but he hasn't practiced as well the first 2 days of the week here with the groin injury. And Devon Achane, they were raving about him in training camp, and he did get dropped in 8% of fantasy leagues coming into the week. Right now, available is Achane in 64% of leagues. So right now, he's one injury away from being the starting running back over there in Miami. And we know Raheem Mostert so far has been playing great football, especially last week, over 100 yards with 2 touchdowns on the ground. But Achane, big physical back. And Raheem Mostert, we just know Mostert, he just don't stay healthy, unfortunately, throughout his NFL career. So right now, while Achane's out there in 64% of fantasy leagues, and like I said, with Ahmed probably not playing this week here, he's going to be in line for some carries, and he's one injury away of being a huge pickup on the Warriors. So right now, as a guy, if you want to flex him in leagues or a desperation option, I think Achane, like I said, is going to get some work in this ball game. But if you want to plan ahead as well and stash a guy on your bench, Achane would be that as well. So that's a few running backs I have as sleepers for week 3 of the fantasy football season.